everyone, it's Nolan from SYNQ Technology. We're here at the roof of the Samsung booth. We're over in the Microsoft booth with SYNQ and Tom Meehan. Introduce yourself.
How's everybody?
Like you need one.
How's everybody doing? Excited to be here with you every year, right? This is a thing now. This is a great view, man. I mean, we've got a good spot. Old, but
weather's not as bad as it was in previous years.
Oh, yeah, it's better for sure, and there seems to be a good turnout.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And you're all over the place. I mean, so far I think we've been to 3 different booths together.
Yeah. We're lucky this year.
Yeah.
So Samsung, IBM, Microsoft, and then we got some partners in other booths.
It's awesome.
Direct Source, Blue Flash.
Yeah, we're excited to be partners.
Yeah.
So what do we want to talk about? I know you got some exciting stuff going on.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing that's interesting. I heard the other day about somebody used the words POC AI Purgatory. They're in purgatory about AI. And I thought to myself, you know what we're really in is radio purgatory. We just can't get out of the radio world. And I had this epiphany talking to what's now a new customer yesterday. They've got a ton of radios in their environment. They've got a little bit of mobile compute. And they desperately want to get to over here at Samsung, right? They're desperately wanting to get into that story of, okay, we need to have a smart device in the pocket of all associates. But to get there, irregardless of CapEx, it's going to take a long time. I mean, like, you know this, and tell like what's involved in that transition, right? So
I think everybody automatically goes to the capital side, but they forget just the sheer learning curve to train associates who've been using radios forever, the IT resources involved, the maintenance, the MDM, the lifecycle management of smart devices. It's a big leap. And I think with all technology, we talk about this leap, and that's one of the great things why we love to partner with you is how do you make that leap easier? Because the journey isn't the same for everybody, and it's got to be an iterative journey. It's got to start somewhere, but to just simply think, tomorrow I'm going to put in smart devices for everybody in an organization, regardless of the size, that's a tall order. Plus, radios work. They do work. So I was really excited. I mean, I know it's a newer thing to hear about AI radio. I think AI in retail, and I can say this, I talk about this all the time, a lot of times it's a solution looking for a problem. Someone said, I've got this AI that can do all these things, but okay, great. Even I hear generative AI all the time. Okay, what are you going to do with it? How are you going to apply it? How are you going to make people's lives easier? And then when we talked about AI radio, the first initial thought process is, all right, where are we going with this? And then really, I mean, you'll explain it better than I do, but you're taking, whether it be a digital or analog radio, because there's both, so you want to be careful, and using AI and natural language processing, this is what I love, that's where there's a real use case in retail to say, hey, that radio that you have that's working, forget about retraining it. Let's take the data and the voice from the radio and apply it to a real life solution.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's such a limiting factor, the mobile compute, right? I mean, even you and I work with customers on call buttons all the time. Even the call button, one of the first questions that comes up, it probably is one of the first ones. Can this work over my radio?
Yes, it is always. It literally is the first question. As a matter of fact, I think when you and I first started partnering, that was the thing. It was like, well, today we hit this button and we get a radio call. And again, the learning curve, just the hurdle of going to change that, it's actually big. So this is kind of a really good solution to allow you to get there, but it's a true use case of AI that's, again, it's not looking for a problem, it's actually solving a real use case today. And you know, we had a customer downstairs, a mutual customer, and we did a demo, and really to simplify it, natural language processing, right? You're using the radio saying what you'd always say, but instead of waiting for a person to respond, you have AI listening and then digesting it for you in real time and answering you. And in that use case with this customer, it was, do we have stock of an item? And I don't know, a second or two later, it actually speaks back. But what I really like about it, what I think is the selling point, and I hate to use that term of SYNQ versus other things, is it's two-way for everything. Your customer knows someone is acknowledging them, but now your end user, or I know people don't like the word end user, but that's what it is, but your employee in the store, it makes their life easier. It really does. They don't need to wait for Nolan or Tom to answer them. And natural language processing works. It's AI that really works. It's not new. By the way, AI is not new, right? But the use case in retail is applicable because today it's kind of like any other chat bot or this. It's all right. I want to know if I have something in stock. Natural language can look it up and get you that information. But what I really liked about the demo is kind of what we've said about virtual call buttons, what we've said about all of the sync solutions is when the customer hits the button, they know something's happening.
Yeah.
They're no longer waiting. And I will tell you, there are some retailers that do call buttons really well, but it causes an enormous amount of stress on the employee who's literally, I've got to run there. And then, unfortunately, in most cases, it's not done well. You hit a button, you hear an overhead announcement, and what really is probably 30 seconds feels like 5 minutes,
100%.
where that feedback is key. And I think this is a takeaway of any technology, where there's feedback for the customer or for the end user. That's really human-centric design, right? The feedback is there, so someone goes, I know. Still have to execute, but it's pretty impressive, and I can't wait to see the other use cases that are going to come out of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the key part here. There's two groups of thought. One group of thought is we use an analog device or like a radio device as the trigger for the radio, and then on the other side, it's not both. It's either or. And it's like, okay, we're going to have a mobile strategy. Everybody's going to have mobile, and then we're going to have a mobile solution on the sales floor. There's nothing that crosses both that allows you to have a bridge from the radio world that basically almost everybody's in. I would say 85% of people are in the radio world.
Yep.
And it's the purgatory. They can't get out of that radio world. So this is the very first one where we're so excited about this year at NRF. You can now hit a call button. You can do an order up through our order up platform where you scan a QR code and say, bring me that DeWalt grill, because it doesn't improve my experience in your store for you to come and unlock the case and then escort me to the till because you don't trust me or you're not helping the process. This is now to hit any of those inputs. It's a radio call and it's mobile compute, and it's whoever gets there first is going to do it. And as I claim and I say on the radio, I'll help customer at drills. It updates that, and now everybody on the mobile devices are like, oh, I don't need to go do that because the radio has been able to claim that call.
Yeah, I think it's a future-proof solution because regardless of where you are in your journey, there's a fit for it. So if you really are just getting into mobile commute or a portable device, you can start with even just one device in the store and use your radios. Or you might be in a hybrid scenario that we see a lot of customers where, hey, we use mobile commute for this only today. We might later on, but really we're just so attuned to our radios, and that's that Purgatory piece. It's lighter weight, it's easier to train to. It is an easier function for some retailers, and we talked about this earlier. Like, I come from apparel retail, and upscale we didn't really use radios, and in off-price we did, but back of house that's all we did is use radios.
Yeah.
You're not going to see it customer facing, but thinking back to my past, it would have really made a big difference to be able to have it. And like I said, I'm a little foreshadowing here in the sense of I can't wait to see what other AI applications using radio. Like, I know for me, one of the things I'm excited about is now you have a way to get transcripts of all your radio and potentially prompt when something is going on. In a world of today, anything proactive is really helpful.
Yeah, I mean, the genesis of this was retailers telling us over and over and over, and you think about it, the last person in the store that's going to get mobile compute are actually the people who are going to be running around and helping all these customers. Like, these are lower value tasks. Unlocking a fitting room, unlocking a locking showcase, helping someone out of stock. The first people that are going to get devices are going to be managers and supervisors and so on. You really don't want those higher paid, higher value folks going and helping those customers at that level. So it's a matter of the genesis was, how do you get something that's holistic across radio and mobile compute? But then it was like this unlocking. We just saw on Friday the acquisition of Theatro by Motorola.
Yeah.
Now suddenly we can look at this and we can say, well, now that we've got all that radio traffic and we've got this bi-directional communication, you can give some of the of what we can do now. But suddenly we went, whoa! Now we can actually be like a little bit of a SDR radio experience with old, and that's the key thing. These are the old, like, we have to go on eBay and buy these. It's the old 20-year-old Motorola radios. It's amazing that Motorola makes it such an incredible product that lasts all these years.
Yeah.
Other stuff does not.
Yeah.
Our radio down there is beat up, it's scratched, and got a chipped corner, and it's working like an SDR radio.
And that's actually what you just said is why it may be purgatory, but it works. When you make an investment on a radio that lasts you 10 years, there isn't always a need to go reinvent the wheel. So I think one of the interesting parts is that you're built for analog or digital radio, so you really are positioned well. And I was a former retailer. Like, I automatically hear people go like, the costs. That's always what people say. I'm like, that's the easy part, because you can always get a budget put together. Trying to train 100,000 people, trying to get a learning curve, that's where this really helps a lot. And I think the data, and we talk about this all the time, the data of understanding what's happening and what is being asked for, that's the interesting part of the next step of what can I learn? What can I learn from this radio traffic that's occurring? What are people looking for? What are the trends speaking to? And then obviously what we always talk about is understanding how quick we really are. We have all these buttons. How do we execute? What does it really feel like for a customer experience? And it doesn't matter who the retailer was. I was with my daughter shopping, and I hit a call button, and it took 30 seconds for the person to come, but they had to do the walk up. And my daughter, 13 years old, says, "Dad, that's a $40 item. Why are they walking that up? There's $40 items right here, not unlocked." And the lady's like, "Oh, well, this particular item falls within a category." And it was interesting because you have a 13-year-old thinking that. Now I'm going like, that's a high theft item, and that's why. And then I'm explaining to her, but again, the wheel's turning. So I think this is a great solution. I think we're going to have a lot of great feedback, and I'm looking forward to seeing it out in the wild.
Cool. Yeah, let's wrap this up. And here we are again. We're in the Samsung booth with this unbelievable view.
Beautiful view.
But that's the cool thing. We are unlocking some folks for the purgatory that they're in on the radios, and that was that moment yesterday with that client and said, we really want to do the Samsung thing. We're just struggling with what that path looks like because of how many devices we need. And when they realize that they could have the best of both worlds and start onboarding those Samsung devices and slowly roll this thing, because you've got MDM to consider, you've got training, you've got help desk, you got all those pieces. That was where the unlock was, and that's where we're so excited to see what we can do with mobile compute and making that a less stressful transition from radios to mobile compute.
Yeah, awesome. Well, it's always good to see you, brother.
Always good, buddy.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.